Here, we have breaking news. In the All-Star game, I'm not sure if I've ever heard of a coach being traded. Man, Kevin Clark is a threat. Cheryl Reeves was practically ejected from the team by her. Clark's team's coach, Cheryl Reeve, was traded. We have previously talked about trading coaches. She'll travel with her coach. I apologize to the WNBA if that isn't a rule. I apologize, ESPN, if that isn't thorough, but we simply established it as such. Caitlin simply told her to forget about her and leave my team. The unimaginable was just done by Caitlin Clark. She created a dream squad with no haters. Permitted after firing her hateful coach, Cheryl Reeve, in the midst of the All-Star draft. It is regarded by fans as the most brutal move in WNBA history. Leave a comment below and let's show Caitlin some love if you're all for her. Let's examine what actually transpired. Between Caitlin Clark and Nfisa Collier, the WNBA All-Star Draft was entertaining. The most intriguing part was the coach swap, but team leaders also chose the players and rosters. Everyone thought the WNBA All-Star Draft would be another fun, sentimental occasion when it started. The funniest All-Star picks ever were just made by Kayla Clark. She chose her pals. People like to call them ops, so she made sure she didn't pick any. The coaches would stand motionless for the cameras, grin, and joke around as the players selected their rosters. However, Caitlin Clark had additional plans. Clark exchanged Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty, or Kier, in exchange for Cheryl Reeve, who was or would be her team's coach. Reeve is, of course, Kier's Minnesota Lynx head coach. She was immediately paired with Cheryl Reeve, who was to coach her team for the match because she was one of the two captains. I understand you, Cheryl Reeves. As of right now, your record is the best in the WNBA on the All-Star. You aim to get as many plays as you can. Group. That's the way it is. The All-Star teams are made up of the coaches with the best records. The controversy will arise since Reeve has already criticized Clark's level of attention in comparison to the rest of the league on social media. However, as everyone who has followed Caitlin's journey is aware, Cheryl Reeve was not your typical coach. Similarly, you showed no concern for Caitlin Clark's fan following or anything else related to it. Don't let anyone care about your weeping. Do you understand what I mean? Additionally, I don't get why you felt the need to make a big deal out of coaching Caitlin Clark's team and say, oh, well, this team's below us to have more plays than us, and it's disappointing. What are you talking about? Reeve had been openly criticizing Clark for months, downplaying her accomplishments, denying the attention she provides to the league, and even removing tweets once they were exposed as offensive. She was previously barred from the Olympics by her having more teammates than your players on the court. Will now be the subject of your complaints. Get off this team, please. It's embarrassing. I am aware of her embarrassment. What no one says doesn't matter to me. I am aware of her embarrassment. Reeve's name has also been mentioned as a factor in Clark's Olympic rejection. However, she denied playing a formal part in the choice. Thus, Caitlin didn't hesitate when it came time to talk about deals during the draft. To tell the truth, I adore my staff. Believe they're fantastic. Actually, I have no plans to trade any of them. Calm and self-assured, she leaned into the microphone and surprised the audience with her statement. She claimed to be content with her squad and her roster, but I believe we have already talked about trading coaches. He will travel with her. Coach, however, he went on to say, I don't know if this is in the rules, but I don't really care. We're going to trade coaches. Clark traded Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty, for Kier in exchange for Cheryl Reeve, who was or was supposed to be her team's coach. Reeve is, of course, Kier's Minnesota Lynx head coach. She abruptly dismissed Cheryl Reeve from her All-Star squad, replacing her with Sandy Brondello, the New York Liberty's head coach and one of the league's most admired leaders. There was a brief pause before the players and audience burst into cheers. I also think it's great that she traded Charles Reeve. The thing I like best about it all is that she exchanged her coach. Some screamed, some chuckled, and even Reeve was utterly taken aback. Here, we have breaking news. In the All-Star game, I'm not sure if I've ever heard of a coach being traded. This is fi. You're consenting to something. This deal has no conditions, calling it one of the most surprising movements they had ever witnessed at an All-Star event. The ESPN broadcast team rushed to keep up. I apologize to the WNBA if that isn't a rule. We just made that a regulation, so I apologize to ESPN if it isn't already. Caitlin, however, refused to give up. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rules. But we just made it a rule, she added with a chuckle. Did you guys see Caitlin's face? Bro? She asked. That's hilarious, dude. She said, nobody cares. Man, when they heard it, I went crazy. Oh my God, the way they were discussing it now gave the impression that it had been planned out or, decided before they went live. Fans hailed that line as the ultimate power move, sending social media into a frenzy. Changing coaches wasn't the only tactic used here. Setting limits and letting the league know that she wasn't here to tolerate disrespect from anyone. Not even a coach with a winning record. Were the goals of this? Caitlin is also ensuring that. She is stone-faced. She says, "Why did you say me bounce? I'm going to get blamed for this." Caitlin Clark made it obvious that she would not sit on the same bench as someone who hasn't supported her after months of being publicly humiliated, ignored, and insulted. Because there are so many new players, the WNBA is a little different. That's why so many fans are new. As a result, people are only now getting to know many of these teams and players. Additionally, there was the Caitlin Clark versus Olympics plotline from the previous year. Of course, that isn't as ingrained in you this year. However, Clark is now facing Cheryl Reeve, and she is in a relationship with her Indiana Fever teammates. Not only was the exchange accepted, it was hailed. It was referred to as iconic by players on both teams and even by some analysts. Social media was inundated with compliments from fans who said it was time for someone to confront the league's political double standards. As far as the coach swap was concerned, that was and likely will be the most talked about topic that occurs. This is how the ESPN broadcast between the two captains went. Reserve for reserve, started for starter. The good thing is that with this kind of talent, you can't go wrong. For Caitlin, this was more than just a shrewd draft day ploy, regardless of who is trying to negotiate. The message to all onlookers was unmistakable and unrepentant. After creating headlines by firing Cheryl Reeve in front of the league, she is determined to lead on her terms and will not allow anyone, not even her designated coach, to undermine her reputation. Caitlin's crew is superior in my opinion. Believe Caitlin's team is superior because, Boston and Wilson aren't going to a Gooten inside. I think they had better shooting overall, and I adore Gabby's variety. Caitlin Clark focused on the important things and assembled the ideal squad to represent her at the All-Star game. She also went into the draft with a clear vision and intense focus, much like her daring coaching change. Be in the company of players who encourage her, players she can trust, and no detractors at all. She actually chose to pick A'ja Wilson instead of Paige Bueckers in order to take Sabily. Third choice. There would have been some uproar if A'ja had dropped any lower on the list. I believe Clark chose her just in time to avoid it, if we're being honest. Some individuals are probably still discussing it to some extent. Her roster selection was a masterful demonstration of self-assurance and understanding. She may care to draft a lot of basketball skill and stats, but it became clear with each selection that this was more than that. This also had to do with loyalty and chemistry. Fee Stewart, Paige, Anka, Agam, and Alicia Gray. On that squad, Club Kier had 3 power forwards and 2 guards. To begin her club, Caitlin Clark truly has a full roster. She has Sada Sabally at the 3, Caitlin Clark at the 1, and Sabrina Ionescu at the 2. During the off-season, she must have heard people shouting things like, "Let's get Sada Sabali." I'm suggesting is that she might have heard a few things. She made it a point to stay away from anyone who had previously talked poorly of her, or who had contributed to the ongoing criticism she has received all year. And fans soon realized her tactic and began referring to it as team vibes or no ops permitted. Wilson, Sabali Mitchell, Gabby Williams, Clark, Boston, UNESCO. Gabby Williams is someone I adore. What a player. The Valkyrie members, Sonia, Citron, Kiki, Irian, Jackie Young, Thornton, and Kayla Thornton. Clark should therefore have a very quick staff there. Aaliyah Boston, her initial choice, set the tone. Boston is Caitlin's Indiana Fever teammate and one of her closest friends, in addition to being a formidable force on the court. Sada Sabali at the 3. Sabrina Ionesco at the 2. In the off-season, she must have heard the rumors that supporters were saying, "Let's get Sada Sabali." I'm only adding that she might have heard a few things. Next up was veteran Sabrina Ionescu, who was, despite others' reluctance, he was one of the few well-known celebrities to embrace Caitlin during her debut season. A'ja Wilson, the WNBA's current superstar and someone you just can't miss, followed. Instead, you're choosing A'ja Wilson because, as Ken Swift's graphic states, Team Caitlin. No ops allowed except A'ja. We ain't stupid. A'ja's that good. You'd have to be insane to leave A'ja off your team. Caitlin even joked, "Satu Sabali." Another outspoken advocate of Caitlin, and someone who has been thrilled about the league's new fan base brought in by her, completed her starting lineup. She also had it coming. Caitlin Clark's team is all we need to win now. She also mentioned that Sandy likes shooting threes and running, but I'm not sure whether you all noticed. You might want to exercise caution out there, Stephanie White. After everything was said and done, Caitlin's starting 5 appeared to be unstoppable. Wilson anchoring both ends of the floor, Sabali contributing versatility and shooting. Boston commanding the paint and herself at point guard. When you consider it, Williams is incredibly quick for a forward. Kelsey is definitely really quick. Citron moves really quickly. One of my favorite players is Jackie Young. As a novice, I, Finn, am able to move around the floor. UNESCO can assist Kelsey and others in spreading the word. Clark, she was obviously not merely assembling a team to compete. She was assembling a squad to rule. She didn't stop there, though. Her bench selections were equally deliberate. Another Fever teammate who has been nothing but encouraging to her. Kelsey Mitchell was her choice. Gabby Williams. Any individual. She chose no one who made disparaging remarks about her on Twitter. She hasn't chosen somebody who has mentioned something unfavorable about her in the press. None of her competitors were chosen by her. Gabby Williams, who has never spoken poorly of her, she ensured her squad was free of ups. She chose a player if she had previously played with someone, such as Sonia Citron. She had previously won titles with Sonia Citron, as well as reliable, strong players like Jackie Young, Kayla Thornton, and Kiki Irian. They all aligned with her values of optimism, cooperation, and avoiding needless drama. In fact, she picked A'ja Wilson with her 3rd pick and passed up Paige Bueckers to take Sabali. We're being honest, there might have been some debate if A'ja had dropped any lower on the list. However, I believe Clark chose her just in time to prevent that. Individuals are probably still discussing it to some extent. Who she didn't choose was perhaps more telling. Notably, players who have openly attacked her were absent from her squad. Players who have contributed to the idea that she doesn't yet belong at the top and who have attempted to sabotage her ascent to fame. She let her competitor, Captain Nafisa Collier, know those names and concentrated on establishing the kind of atmosphere she desired. One in which she wouldn't have to worry about whether her teammates were really rooting for her or not. It was a lot of fun to pick on the other players. Additionally, Caitlin Clark ended up with every member of the Fever on her team. Referring to Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and in Indianapolis, Kelsey Mitchell will be part of a trio for All-Star, Caitlin. Clark did more than simply choose a team in a single night. She messaged the league as a whole. She is aware of who is genuine and who is not. And she isn't scared to take the difficult decisions necessary to preserve her peace, leave a lasting legacy, and manage a group of people who share her beliefs. Caitlin was more than astute in what she did. It served as a metaphor. She didn't simply create a team with the goal of winning on the scoreboard. She constructed a waz created to win over the corresponding supporters. Demonstrate her tenacity and demonstrate that she understands exactly what it takes to perform well under duress. If Caitlin Clark's decision to fire Cheryl Reeve was bold, the fallout was even more intriguing. Look, you say something like that, I don't want you on my team. I don't want you on my team. Go on about your business, man. I'm trading the coach. I'm good with my entire team, but I don't want your coach, Caitlin said. In the hours and minutes that followed the draft, it became evident that Caitlin's move had caused a tremor in the room. To be completely honest, Cheryl Reeve said, I love my team, think they're great, and I don't have any intentions of really trading any of them. I don't really care. I don't know if this is in the rules, but I think we have already discussed. We are going to trade coaches. We just made it a regulation. We have breaking news here. I don't know that I've heard of a coach being traded in the All-Star game. When Caitlin calmly declared, we're going to exchange coaches, B said, I apologize to the WNBA and ESPN if that's not in the rules. Reeve's reaction was unavoidable, and she attempted to cover it on camera by using a forced smile. But the truth was in her eyes. This is something you're agreeing to, Fee. There's no terms to this deal. I agree with Cheryl. I agree with the trade. I love Cheryl. She's my coach here. That's going to be worse for Team Clark because we now have more chemistry on our side. We have more synergy. You could see the tension. That was a bad move on your part, Kayla. We're taking you down. This wasn't just a lighthearted swap too. It was a very public reminder of the rift that's been growing for months. Just as you didn't give a damn about Caitlin Clark's fan base and all that. Don't anyone care about your tears? I don't get why you had to make a big issue out of it and say, oh well, this team is below us to have more plays, and that's disappointing, especially since you're coaching the Caitlin Clark team. And what are you talking about? Reeve has been one of Caitlin's harshest critics ever since she joined the league. He has denied any involvement in her Olympic snub, deleted controversial tweets, and questioned her level of play, all while dismissing her popularity. I don't care what people think. I know she was embarrassed, so when Caitlin fired her on live TV in front of millions of people, the dynamic completely changed. You already prevented her from competing in the Olympics. And now you're going to complain that she had more teammates than your players on the court. Reeve lost control for once, and the fallout was swift. Within minutes, videos of the incident went viral, and fans flooded social media with praise for Caitlin's boldness. Throughout the night, tweets referring to it as the most gangster move in WNBA history and the ultimate clapback trended. All of this is a waste of time. And I don't see Clark literally sitting here wasting her talents because Stephanie White, she wants to run and shoot threes. Point blank, period. You know what I mean? She has said this many times already, and many fans have noted how fulfilling it is. I just don't see that happening, man. That's just me. It's just me. The drama will come from Reeve's previous criticism on social media about the amount of attention Clark received compared to the rest of the league, many of whom had also been vocal critics of her. It must have been embarrassing for Reeve to witness Caitlin, who has endured so much criticism and condescension, finally stand up for herself and take charge of her narrative, as well as to be publicly rejected and now have to coach the rival team alongside players who were against Caitlin. Even other players couldn't help but comment on the tension. One joked on the broadcast, "So, Sandy Brunello, come on over. Let's get to it. You can coach Sabrina." It was almost poetic, as Reeve, who had previously had all the power, now found herself outside of Caitlyn's spotlight, coaching the very team that Caitlyn was determined to defeat. Perhaps Stewie wants to join my team, so let me know. You want to give me Stewie? Well, the coaches might be the X factor here, hinting at the obvious friction between Reeve and Clark. Reeve looked like she was crying inside, but trying to keep her composure. Caitlyn, on the other hand, handled the whole situation with remarkable poise. She didn't gloat or rub it in, just smiled, stuck to her decision, and moved on to building her team. Okay, if you didn't necessarily watch that in the video, she essentially discussed how some teams had 3 All-Stars while they only had 2, and she was saying that it wasn't just a team that was slightly below them, but also a team that was significantly below them. Her quiet confidence only made her move more impactful. What Caitlyn did that night wasn't just about selecting a coach who better suited her style. It was also about taking back her space and reminding Team Clark should be winning this if you whack it. But we have a lot of guards. Kayla Thornton has been balling out there in Golden State. I like Gabby Williams. Kelsey is Kelsey. I think everyone, including her critics, coaches, teammates, and fans, refuses to treat her disrespectfully. It's uncommon to see a rookie take such a strong stance so early in her career. But Caitlyn demonstrated once again why she's unique and why she's already becoming the face of women's basketball. In the aftermath, fans have come together even more, seeing her not only as a fantastic player, but also as someone who isn't afraid to stand up to the league's politics and personalities. Extra spice after one of the baskets. Well, because yes, Cheryl Reeve is a great coach, don't get me wrong. And she doesn't bite her tongue, as you noticed after the WNBA Finals, when she said it was stolen from the Lynx. You can't question her acumen, and she will definitely speak her mind, but there must be something in the back of Caitlyn's mind that still feels a little mute. Even if Reeve wasn't the direct cause of her exclusion from the Olympic squad, Caitlyn Clark didn't simply show up to the WNBA. Clark is back in business just before the All-Star game, right before All-Star weekend. So don't panic. She's not just here to play the game, she's here to change it by standing up for herself and refusing to let anyone diminish her. She owned the All-Star draft. In one unforgettable night, she fired her hater coach, built a dream team full of loyalty and talent, and sent a message to the entire league. She is a fighter, a leader, and the league's future. Now that the stage is set, there is a fierce rivalry between everyone. But Keir has emerged as the MVP favorite, and Clark has become such a star in the last year or so that I believe fans are